Recently, my friend spent $60 on lion's mane supplements after a TikTok told him it would help to regrow his brain cells. $60 for a bottle of mushrooms that supposedly rebuild your brain. And he asked me, does it actually work? I'll be honest, I didn't have a good answer. So I dug in, and what I found was a little fascinating and a little unsettling. Yes, lion's mane contains compounds that look promising in animals. They can even cross into the brain tissue. But the human research? Way less certain than the marketing makes it sound. So here's the question. Is lion's mane really boosting memory, curing anxiety, protecting against Alzheimer's? Or is it all part of something that I call the mushroom mirage? And who am I to tell you the mushrooms won't turn you into Einstein overnight? I'm Dr. Salman Aziz-Mirza, triple board certified in adult psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry, and addiction medicine. And unlike The Last of Us, this fungus isn't taking over your brain. But it is taking over TikTok, and it might just be taking over your wallet. The biggest lion's mane claim is bold. It makes your brain literally grow new cells. You'll hear influencers talk about regrowing damaged brain parts, creating fresh pathways overnight, even upgrading your brain like it's the latest iPhone update. And I get the appeal. Who wouldn't want a biological software update? But here's where the mushroom mirage begins. Yes, your brain does grow new cells throughout your life. That's called neurogenesis, mostly in the hippocampus, the part of the brain that handles memory and learning. So technically, influencers aren't inventing this out of thin air. And yes, lion's mane contains compounds with cool names. Harrisoninis and Aaronesinis, something like that, right? In rodents and petri dishes, these crank up something called nerve growth factor, NGF. Think of NGF as Miracle-Gro for neurons. It helps them repair, stay healthy, and make new connections. Sounds pretty amazing. But here's the catch. Those dramatic regrowth findings, almost all of them come from cell cultures or injured rodents. And mouse brains are not human brains. A lab rat recovering from brain trauma is not the same as you sipping lion's mane tea on your morning commute. Some influencers also brag that lion's mane crosses the blood-brain barrier. Technically, animal studies suggest it might, but crossing into brain tissue doesn't magically give you superpowers. Lots of everyday chemicals cross that barrier. That doesn't turn them into brain boosters. So what does this mean for humans? At best, lion's mane might help your existing neurons work a little bit better. Maintenance, not reconstruction. Think tune-up, not total rebuild. But that raises the real question. If lion's mane isn't regrowing your brain, does it at least deliver the memory boost and razor-sharp focus that TikTok keeps promising? Here's the claim that really sells the bottles. Take lion's mane and suddenly your memory sharpens, your focus locks in, and you're basically Bradley Cooper and limitless. And to be fair, there is one famous study that everybody cites. Back in 2009, Dr. Mori and colleagues gave lion's mane to older adults with mild cognitive impairment, basically early memory decline. After 16 weeks, those taking lion's mane did a little bit better on memory tests compared to placebo. On paper, that sounds pretty huge. But here's the part that TikTok doesn't mention. When they stopped taking lion's mane, the benefits disappeared within 4 weeks. Back to baseline. That's not a cure, that's a subscription. And it gets worse. More recent studies in healthy young adults, way less exciting. A 2023 trial in college students, even at higher doses, found no improvement in memory or attention compared to placebo. Other small studies show tiny, task-specific blips here and there, but nothing even close to a universal brain boost. Here's the insight. The science isn't consistent. Each trial measures something different: memory, attention, processing speed. So one small improvement in one obscure test becomes the Instagram headline. Lion's mane boosts memory for everyone. That's not science. That's marketing spin. And this is what I call the Netflix effect. A flashy premiere, headlines, hype, big promises, and then quiet cancellation. Because the follow-up studies never deliver. So if you're older and already noticing memory decline, lion's mane might give you a modest bump, but only while you're taking it. If you're young and healthy, don't expect the mushroom to magically make you into Sherlock Holmes. And memory isn't the only promise. Some TikToks will claim that lion's mane can beat therapy for anxiety and even present Alzheimer's. Huge claims. But do they actually hold up when you dig into the studies? Let's find out. Now let's tackle the other big promises: lion's mane for anxiety, and even Alzheimer's prevention. On TikTok, you'll see claims like better than therapy or stops dementia before it starts. Sounds pretty amazing. But let's look at the actual studies. One of the earliest human trials comes from Dr. Nagano in 2010. They gave lion's mane cookies, yes, cookies, to 30 menopausal women for 4 weeks. Those women reported feeling a little less depressed and anxious. But here's the catch. Compared to placebo, the improvements weren't that different. In other words, maybe some mood boost, but nothing close to what influencers make it sound like. Then there's a 2019 study from Vigna and colleagues. They gave lion's mane capsules to 77 people, but also put them on a strict low-calorie diet. Sure, anxiety scores went down, but compared to the control group, not significant again. And dieting alone often improves mood. So is the mushroom or just the menu? That same study measured a biomarker called pro-BDNF, linked to brain health and mood. Yes, those levels went up, but here's the problem. Feeling better is what matters, not what a blood test says. Now, what about Alzheimer's? A small study by Dr. Lee gave lion's mane to older adults with mild Alzheimer's. After a few months, participants showed slight improvements in daily activities and visual contrast sensitivity. But on the main cognitive tests, no significant difference compared to placebo. And to prove real prevention, you'd need studies lasting years, not just 16 weeks. To be fair, some large population studies in Japan found that people who eat more mushrooms overall seem to have lower dementia rates. But that's correlation. People who eat more mushrooms also tend to have healthier diets and lifestyles. That doesn't prove lion's mane is preventing Alzheimer's. And here's the insight. These aren't miracle cures. They're cookie trials, diet confounders, and loose correlations dressed up as breakthroughs. This is the mushroom mirage in action. Flimsy evidence spun into sweeping promises. And even if lion's mane did have benefits, here's the question no one asked. What's actually inside that $60 bottle you're buying? Because the answer might shock you. Alright, let's talk about what you're really buying when you drop $60 on lion's mane. Because here's the dirty secret. 2 bottles sitting right next to each other on the shelf can be completely different products. One bottle might use the fruiting body, the fluffy white pom-pom mushroom you'd recognize in nature. The other, mostly mycelium, the underground root-like stuff grown on grain. And guess what? They don't contain the same active compounds. Fruiting body is richer in heracinones. Mycelium has more arenaceous. Again, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. So depending on which one you buy, you're getting a totally different chemical profile, even though both bottles just say lion's mane. Then there's the extraction method. Some companies use simple hot water. Others use alcohol. A few use fancy processes like supercritical CO2. And the method matters. It changes how much of the good stuff actually makes it into the capsule. The most promising studies? They use standardized, carefully extracted products. But your over-the-counter $60 bottle? Probably nowhere close. Now let's talk about safety. Clinical trials report mild side effects like stomach upset, rashes, and rare allergic reactions. And because lion's mane tinkers with nerve growth factors, interactions aren't impossible. If you got a mushroom allergy or you're on meds that affect the nervous system, you're rolling the dice. And here's the kicker. The FDA treats supplements like food, not medicine. That means companies don't have to prove their product works, or even that the label is accurate, before selling it to you. Independent labs sometimes test supplements, but it's voluntary. Most brands skip it. Even dosing is all over the place. The clinical trials showing benefits, they use 1 to 3 grams daily in older adults with cognitive decline. But walk into a store and you'll see capsules with 200 milligrams. Or gummies with who knows what inside. No standardization, no clear guidelines, no guarantee you're getting what the label says. This is why I call it the Wild West of supplements. Because when you're buying lion's mane, you're not buying a medicine. You're gambling. And most of the time, the house, not your brain, wins. So with all this chaos in quality and safety, here's the real question. What happens when you add up the hype, the sketchy bottles, and the inconsistent science? Let's land this plane. So here's where we land after digging through the hype. Lion's mane is interesting. In petri dishes and the animal models, it shows real biological activity. In humans, the strongest signals come from older adults with mild cognitive decline. And even then, the effects are modest, short-term, and disappear once you stop taking it. For healthy young people, the evidence just doesn't back the miracle claims flooding your feed. And here's the bigger truth. Lion's mane isn't unique. It's part of the mushroom mirage, a cycle where flashy claims, tiny studies, and influencer marketing turn a supplement into a so-called cure-all. But when you peel back the layers, the evidence falls apart. So here's your 24-hour action step. Before you swallow another capsule, flip the label. Does it say fruiting body or mycelium? Does it list standardized compounds? Has it been third-party tested? If the answer is no, ask yourself, is this really worth the $60? Now, I want to hear from you. Have you tried lion's mane? Did you notice any real change, good or bad? Drop your experience in the comments because your stories matter more than influencer headlines. And don't go anywhere. This is just the beginning. Next up, CBD. It's sold as a cure for stress, sleep, pain, even psychiatric conditions. But does it actually deliver? Or is it just really expensive hemp oil? That's coming soon. So hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and together we'll keep cutting through the hype, one miracle cure at a time. Until next time, be safe and be well.